Well, it's one thing to imagine on paper how a concept could change the way we play a game, but experiencing it after years of theory crafting is one hell of a slap in the face, and that is how I felt after finally experiencing crafting in Star Citizen Alpha 4.7. And mark my words, guys, crafting is, one way or another, going to affect your game experience at some point. Let's say you aren't interested in crafting at all, you don't want to do anything with it, and if that's your case, by the way, please let yourself know in the comment section down below. Well, it's still going to affect you the second you get confronted by it, especially if another player is equipped with gear that they would have crafted. And upgraded armor could save you from NPC fire, or even better, right? A light armor could even help you move around faster. Better tools will also get you to work faster and more effectively, improving your money earned per hour ratio. Whether you like it or not, crafting is going to become unavoidable, and anyone will have to use crafted items one way or another. But of course, most people do have an interest in this gameplay feature and will want to get deep into it in order to benefit from it the most, and so this is how I think the way we'll play the game will fundamentally change. First, let's talk about mining, which is going to play a huge role. In order to craft, players will have to source materials with a quality equal or superior to 500, and they're not going to be available at shops or outposts. The only way to acquire them is going to be through mining or buying them from someone who would have mined them. More on that a little bit later. This means that mining, which used to be a hunt for the most lucrative resources you could find, is going to transform itself into a hunt for resources players actually need, and that is in itself a revolution, because we won't just go mining for quantanium or gold anymore, but instead we're going to mine for resources that would otherwise have been discarded, like iron or aluminium, which suddenly become sought after. Mining is going to cease becoming a gameplay loop in itself, but instead will start to integrate into the game's economy at a wider scale as part of a new item creation loop. Next, let's talk about player-to-player transactions, which are going to become even more important. In an all-in-one game such as Star Citizen, it is absolutely normal to find players who are not interested in every gameplay loop. For sure, there are players out there, myself included, who try to be jack of all trades, but there are also plenty of players who specialize in one or two gameplay loops only, and who will therefore completely ignore mining, if that is not one of them. Yet, as I mentioned earlier, crafting is going to eventually impact everyone, and those who ignore it will therefore be at a disadvantage. That is why they will likely buy crafted objects from crafters, just like how players buy scavenged objects from players for wiki low items. However, as we all know, there are no in-game dedicated player-to-player transactions, which means that apart from a money transfer app in the Mobiglass, there's pretty much nothing else. Now, to exchange objects, players drop them on the floor in maybe a ship or a hangar and hope for the best. And while for sure it's sometimes work, the method is actually rather clunky and just not worthy of a game with such high ambitions as Star Citizen. What Star Citizen really needs, in my opinion, is a player-to-player marketplace, like those that we could find in classic MMOs like Star Wars Galaxies. Sellers would then bring items for sale at the main landing zone, for example a TDD, which I think would be an ideal place for that. The item will be locked for the duration of the sale until a player would have bought it or not. If a sale takes place, then the buyer would have to go to the location where the item that they would have bought is located, so that then they would transfer that item into their local inventory. Here, Star Citizen doesn't need to reinvent the wheel, they just need to do what has proven to be working. Then I think that CIG need to make looting players relevant again. There used to be a time when killing other players on the ground was exciting for the sole reason of stripping bodies naked and taking everything that they had away from them, including subscriber flair and paid items. Sadly, that gameplay has been taken away from us, and now players just respawn with whatever gear they had equipped prior to their deaths. This change was made to appease a certain part of the community which was complaining that they could no longer use the items that they paid with real money, which was indeed a fair point. With the introduction of crafting, however, I think that it's going to be time for CIG to reverse their policy regarding item loss, and here I'm not going to be calling for every item to be lost upon death again, as it would take us back where we were before, but I think that those crafted items that were equipped here should be lost upon death. Of course, a lot of you will remember that in the past, a lot of players were wearing the basic white undersuit in order to make sure that they would not lose anything upon death, and I think that this phenomenon is not going to be happening again. What is going to happen, however, is that players who will not want to lose risking anything will wear base items, while players wanting to get an advantage with crafting items will take the risk of losing them only to craft them and get them crafted again later. It will make PvP encounters more exciting, as players wouldn't just be defending their lives but also their gear again, and players who may not necessarily be interested in crafting could get a taste of it by equipping the crafted gear that they would have looted from other players. Giving the ability for crafted items to be looted from players could therefore nurture a healthy economy around crafting itself, as it would increase the demand while also adding additional stakes to player-to-player engagements. In the end, as Star Citizen Alpha 4.7 only brings the first iteration of crafting, or a tier 0 if you like, the inclusion of that gameplay loop has the potential to bring so much more to the game. If concrete changes will be immediately felt within mining, it's also very important CIG evaluates the action they have to quickly take if they want to avoid crafting to be seen as a missed opportunity by the community. Speaking of community, at the Iraq Club we will start Alpha 4.7 with a large mining event in order to gather a lot of high quality crafting materials as early as possible, so if you would like to join us, you will find the link in the description down below. Beam Eye Tracker is still a sponsor of the channel, and if you're looking for an eye tracker but cannot spend $300, well, what about the Beam Eye Tracker? This is going to be working with your webcam and it does exactly the same job for only $30, link in the description down below. Finally, a huge shout out to my Patreon and YouTube members, including Dr. Frobin, Zero Kosher, Socartasius, Lucky2Docker, and Shadowrise. Patreon members directly help the channel with the help of financing regular giveaways, but also hardware like the new PC that I will get in September. Any help over there is very much appreciated. Thank you so much for your consideration. I'll see you guys in the next one. It's been the Eradicator. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Cheers.